Well, how y'all gunfighters doing today? Today's an episode that may be a little bit unusual from what you normally hear from other gun channels and even myself. Why you shouldn't always listen to me. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Why you shouldn't always listen to me as I talk to you. But I think it'll make sense when we get into it. So, with further ado, I'm going to put in the bio, and then after that, we'll get into the main topic, guys. I'll roll into a quick abbreviated bio and then into the main topic. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I don't apologize for that. God is number one in my life. I grew up hunting and fishing in the backwoods of the southeastern United States at a very early age. Some of my earliest memories are with firearms. I joined the Marine Corps at 17, did a couple of combat tours in Iraq. By God's grace, He got me through that safely. After that, I served as a instructor, an urban warfare instructor and a desert warfare instructor for the United States Marine Corps. I also served with the L.A.P.D. both full-time as a sworn police officer and in some more specialized assignments, as well as serving in the U.S. Army, full-time and part-time National Guard. I've been a F.B.I. firearms instructor, still am an F.B.I. firearms instructor, have been for a lot of years, also N.R.A. certified and some other three-letter government agency certified. I've been a private contractor for a three-letter government agency I won't specify. I've been the commander of a tactical team in a large metropolitan area. By God's grace, He got me through all that in one piece, not because I'm better, but because He chose to have grace and mercy on me. I've been a professional hunter and guide. Professionally hunted things like buffalo and elk. Not many people today can say they've done that, but I'm blessed to be able to say that I have. I've hunted everything from white-tailed deer on the East Coast to mule deer on the West Coast to gray squirrel on the East Coast to prairie dog on the West Coast and elk and bear and wolf and slain all manner of beast. A state rifle and pistol champion a few times over in a few different disciplines. Now those experiences, it's not because I'm bigger or badder, certainly not bigger. In fact, I met one of the patrons in real life and he said something to the effect of, "I thought you'd be bigger." Reminded me of that William Wallace movie where he's like, "Oh yeah, if William Wallace were here, he'd shoot lightning bolts out of his rear end." Well, I'm not William Wallace, but I am the person that did all those things in the bio. But not because I'm bigger or badder. I don't think that I survived when many other young, good men did not. I give all the glory and all the credit to God. All the talents and experiences that He's given me and the things that He's let me live through, I hope to use them to glorify God and to help you today. So if I boast in anything, it's not in my strength. It's in that God had mercy on me and saved me because He had a purpose for me. And hopefully I can use those talent, skills, and abilities to serve you today. Now, why should you not listen to me? Well, first of all, you should never listen to anybody blindly. Right? I am not your king. I am not Christ. I am not the Lord. Only Him should you listen to carte blanche. I can make mistakes, right? Ask my wife. Right? I can make mistakes. So, one, you should check what I say. But even if I'm giving you straight dope, meaning honest data obtained by previous engagements. That's what dope stands for in the rifle, in the shooting, in the gun culture vernacular. Dope. Even if I'm giving you straight dope on real-world first-hand experience, that may not apply to you. Right? And that's the bigger thing we're going to talk about today. Hopefully I do my best, which is not perfect, to give you straight, unbiased opinions. But maybe that doesn't apply to you. This is gunfighter life, and I don't apologize for that. I don't want to change the podcast, but I realize that many people have never been a professional gunfighter. Now, hopefully you see yourself as a protector, a provider, one willing to wield the sword and protect those around you, and you should take that seriously. But that doesn't apply across the board. And that's okay. That's okay if you don't. And not all guns and all purchases and everything have to be viewed through that lens. The subtitle of this podcast is Gunfighter Life and then Survival Guns. And I view survival in two main categories. There are many subcategories, but putting food on the table and protecting life, human life. Both of those, I think, are important for survival in different ways, but both very important. And I try to come at this podcast that way. Here's the thing. Maybe you don't care about those things. Maybe you like hunting and you're capable hunter, but you don't really care about it being practical. And here's what I mean. Let's say that you live east of the Mississippi, which many people do, and you've always dreamed about going and hunting pronghorn antelope, speed goat, which are actually a sheep, confusingly enough, but even though we call them antelope. But I digress. You've wanted to do that for 20 years, and you've worked hard and taken care of your family, and you want to go out west, by golly, and you want to hunt in Arizona, New Mexico, Idaho, somewhere like that for speed goat. That's what you want to do, and you've been saving up, and you're not irresponsible with your money, and you want just the epitome of fine rifles for doing that task. Right? If I was thinking about like maybe the epitome of that, it would be like a Weatherby Mark V and 257 Weatherby. Right? Like a match made in heaven for how I like to hunt pronghorn. Spot and stalk hunting, out on plateaus, desert to high desert terrain. Right? It's a beautiful rifle for that. Now, does that really make logical sense if you... It's a fine rifle and a fine combo for that, perhaps the best. But unless you're guiding for that or you're doing that a lot or you live there, does it really make sense financially, practically, to buy that rifle to hunt an animal that you're going to get 75 pounds of meat off of? Right? If you divide that, let's say 75 pounds of meat by the cost of the rifle and the ammo, there's no way you can make that practically make sense. Right? But it doesn't have to. Because you don't have to justify yourself to me. So you shouldn't always listen to me. Will the 243 that you've been hunting with for a decade be almost as good in every situation? Yeah, probably. And probably will make no difference. But who cares? If you've been saving up and you really want to hunt the Southwest deserts with a, Weatherby Mark V and 257 Weatherby, you've always wanted to do it, then do it. You don't have to listen to me, right? That doesn't apply. The cost of that meat per pound is not in your equation, and nor should it have to be, right? Again, you don't have to justify yourself to me. Here's another one, and I try not to be this, but many gun channels, and I'm not going to call out anybody else, but many gun channels take bribes. Many are sponsored by a certain company, so you should look at it through that lens, like, you shall take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. Why I appreciate you patrons stepping up and supporting. But many take sponsors. Many will, right? You gotta imagine whether they want to or not, that's gonna skew their opinion on stuff. And what I think sometimes is even worse is people that take free stuff from pretty much anybody that will give it to them. Because then you get some wishy-washy, wet noodle opinion of like, oh, everything's good. This is good. This is good. This gun's good. And this gun's good too. They're all good. No. In my opinion, some guns are junk. Some guns are cheap junk. Some guns are expensive junk. Some guns are cheap and good, and some guns are expensive and good. But the fact remains, to me, some guns are straight up junk, the way that I view them. And again, I view them from a practical perspective, as far as they need to be reliable, dependable. But maybe you don't care about that, right? Maybe that doesn't apply to you. Again, I think a lot of people get into guns and preparedness, survival, mostly for the stuff, because they want to buy cool kit. And hey, there's worse stuff that you could spend your money on, especially with this economy and inflation, right? It's probably better that you buy guns than you have a car payment. You're probably better off with an old beater car that you have paid off and a bunch of guns than a nice new car and cheap guns, because that car is only going down in value, and you're making yourself a slave to debt to have a car payment for something that's losing value makes no sense. So if you just want to buy guns because they hold some of their value and you don't care that they're reliable, then get a Springfield XD. Yeah, I said it, because I don't have sponsors here. Maybe you don't care about trusting your life to it. Maybe you just want a cool, fun gun. Maybe you just want to turn money into noise. That's like your range therapy. Hey, man, you don't have to listen to me. If you want an XD because they feel good in your hand, not actually going to carry the thing, then my opinion on that doesn't matter, right? Because it's null and void to you. It is not germane to your parameters. Right? My left and right lateral limits need not be your left and right lateral limits. And I think I've been too rigid in that. So if you've listened for a while, for one, don't think that you have to please me or justify yourself to me. Again, you don't have to please me or justify yourself to me at all. If you're just going to turn money into noise, then pretty much any gun will do that, right? And the vast majority of guns, unless you're getting something really crazy, or they're going to be safe. Even if they fail, I'll even give it to Springfield. Even when they fail, they generally don't kill you. They generally fail in a safe manner, right? So, again, don't think that my choices always have to be your choices. Like the whole 3-year rule. You know my general rule. And I didn't come at that rule by happenstance. I came that way by being burned several times. By buying guns when they first came out. It's like, oh, this is going to be really cool. And I bought into the marketing hype and I get it and it doesn't work. Some of you may remember the Remington R51. I really wanted one of those. Came out, I bought it. I was like, well, that was a mistake. Right? And I would like to say that's the only time, but, fool me twice. I've probably been fooled several times on buying new models of guns. Here's the thing. For me, I buy like a handgun to carry it. I buy a rifle generally to hunt with it, to put meat on the table. You may not care about that. Again, you may just be in this because that's a more responsible place to put your disposable income than alcohol or a car payment or whatever. And you like just playing with new guns. And that's fine. Again, if you want to be the beta tester, again, I would encourage you not to carry that until it's proven. If you want to go out and whatever's getting released at SHOT Show right now, I'm recording this in the year of our Lord 2024 in the month of January. But whatever's coming out at SHOT Show, right, if you're just like, that's so cool, I want it. And you just want it because you want it and you have the money, and you're not putting yourself into debt slavery to get it, rock on, man. Again, you don't have to justify yourself to me. That 3-year rule is for gunfighting guns or survival guns, for putting meat on the table. If you just want a cool, fancy new gun because it's cool and fancy and that just is appealing to you, again, my parameters don't have to be your parameters. You don't have to tell me, I'll never know. Right? Right? It doesn't matter that I find it okay. You need not justify yourself to me. I got a guy in the chat, in the insider chat, been a patron a long time. Thank you for all you patrons, by the way. But let's just say his taste in guns and my taste in guns are vastly different. He just kind of likes cheap guns. I think just because he likes to have a lot of guns and he can buy more of the cheap guns. And that's fine, right? I know his go-to carry gun. It's a good one. He's got a bunch of other guns. He likes buying the cheap guns. There's nothing wrong with that, right? That works for him. That keeps him motivated, keeps him in the gun culture, the gun community, that, when he gets, I don't know how often, I'm just making this up, let's say every month, he's got it allotted to buy a new gun. And that is going to be a cheap gun because that's what he's got allotted. And he would rather do that than save up for, 10 months and buy a Wilson Combat. Again, don't have to justify yourself to me. If you'd rather have the more cheap guns just because you like trying different guns, have at it, man. You got a safe full of cheap guns. Again, talking about inflation, that's probably a better investment than the stock market. So I can't fault you there. In fact, many of you guys know that a bunch of my stuff was stolen not too long ago. And some of my guns that weren't stolen were a bit redundant. I literally just went to turn those firearms into liquid assets. I took them to the local gun store to put them on consignment. I literally took them there this afternoon, and it's tonight when I'm recording this episode, and I got a call that one was already selling. My Kimber 308, one of my old guiding rifles. But there's stuff I consider more essential that got taken that I don't have and probably should replace instead of having 3 308 rifles. Like, I probably should replace my body armor and all our kind of small semi-auto centerfire handguns got taken. So probably that's more important than the third 308 that's third down the line, because I have the Scar 17 by God's grace. I have the Ruger Scout rifle, right? So probably turn that into cash. And the point of that is that guns can be a good place to park fiat currency. If you do it wisely, like if you buy a brand new gun and turn around and sell it used the next day, like you're buying a new car off the lot and driving it off, you're going to lose some money. If you're wise about your purchases, you're probably, again, better off in firearms if you do it wisely than many other investments. So if you, again, for that gentleman that's a patron, like if you got a safe full of cheap guns, especially if we get really bad inflation or times get really bad, you talk about a good liquid asset, right? Right, firearms are a pretty good one. The worse times get, generally, the more guns and ammo are worth. So, again, my philosophy doesn't have to be your philosophy. I don't see me changing my philosophy because I come at it for good practical reasons. But that doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing, right? There are many reasons why you might want to go outside the parameters. I'll give you a good example. Does a firearm always have to be reliable? No, right? Not even for me, right? It depends on your mission parameters. I like prairie dog hunting. I like slaying whistle pigs. I'm talking, if I can get a damage stamp on a good ranch, I will slay as many of those filthy little rodents that spread the bubonic plague as I can to help those farmers out, to help feed humans, cattle. If you've never seen these things, they can move in waves, literally like a plague. Just a plague of rodents just bounding on the ground in waves. If you get like a good ranch that where you get issued like a damage stamp and you go out and help out, they don't eat the crops or whatever the case is. Like, imagine how many little teeny A seeds or alfalfa seeds that one rodent can eat, and then times that by however many hundreds of thousands of rodents there are. Now, if I'm building a specialty AR, specialty load, because this is a specialty thing, right? Shooting prairie dogs, if you've never done it, you're generally aiming at the upper chest, because usually there's some kind of grass or something. Upper chest and or head of a prairie dog, which is a very small target. You could shoot that from, hundreds of yards away. I might have a load and like a dedicated AR upper bull barrel that, prints a 1/4 inch group, 1/2 inch group all day long, even when it gets warm, even when it's getting shot a lot. But it malfunctions every 10 rounds. You might think an AR that functions every 10 rounds is unacceptable. Not if it's for prairie dog hunting. Because if it malfunctions, you just tap, rack, bang, and you're good to go again. My life is not on the line unless the prairie dogs suddenly get rabies or something and turn into zombies. That'd be a horrific, horrifying movie. Zombie prairie dogs. But you get the idea, right? If I go click and there's no bang, well, that's just a good dry fire session. Hopefully I correct it if I did something wrong with the fundamentals. Especially you get into like a specialty AR with real tight tolerances and maybe a really, really light trigger for that. Is it okay to have an AR that malfunctions every 10 rounds? Normally I would say no. No, like you don't want that at all if that's like your go-to fighting rifle. But again, that's not a hard and fast rule. If it's a prairie dog rifle and it shoots exquisite the other 9 rounds, at the end of the day, you're going to kill more prairie dogs than a gun that's 100% reliable and shoots a 2-inch group. Normally, a 2-inch group for a fighting AR is just fine. Trying to shoot a 1-inch head at 200 yards, that math doesn't add up, does it? So, again, the parameters change based on the mission, and your mission parameters may be completely different than mine. Here's one. And I've thought about this because I've had people reach out to me. I don't have small kids in the home. I recommend home defense guns, shotgun. Why? Because it's the best. But I don't have those mission parameters, right? You may have small kids at home, so you just carry your gun, right? You carry your carry gun loaded. When you get home, you still carry it loaded. When you go to bed, it goes into a little safe by your bed. So it's always ready, always at hand. Whereas you couldn't keep a shotgun loaded and accessible because it's just too big and impractical to do so with young children that might really get hurt. So when I say the shotgun is a way better home defense tool for a home defense weapon than a handgun, well, because it is ballistically, it's way better. But again, I don't have little kids running around. If you do, the handgun that you have positive control over in a holster is better than the shotgun that you can't keep loaded, can't keep accessible, that you have to get out of a safe, right? That's not practical. I'd rather you have a handgun that's ready than a shotgun in a safe. Might as well be on the moon if somebody breaks in. So again, you don't have to take my advice on that. If I say the shotgun is the preeminent de facto standard for home defense, and I think it's the best choice ballistically. But again, you may have different mission parameters than me. So I think I've beat that dead horse enough, but I just wanted to give you some examples of why you don't always have to listen to me. Right? I'm not infallible. Hopefully you appreciate my opinions because they're based on real-world first-hand experience, and I don't take any bribes. But don't think that you have to arrive at the same conclusions that I do. Anyway, with that, your tactical tip of the day. This is broad, but I think really helpful. One of the patrons, we have a group chat for patrons, and hopefully it's a good beneficial thing to everybody. It's not just me on there giving advice. It's iron sharpening iron. One of the guys was having a problem with his semi-auto shotgun, and the basic advice applies to more than just semi-auto shotgun, right? What is Occam's razor, right? The simplest solution first, simplest explanation first, like simplest thing you can look at first. He was having problems with the semi-auto. He also lives in a really cold place. He said it was working fine when it was warm, and it got really cold and it wasn't working. It was also hunting a different thing, which means different ammo. So a couple of different variables there. I said, or we said as a collective, I don't want to take credit for it, right? We said that, look at different lubes, because some lubes perform well in the cold and some don't. But that's the simplest thing. And then after that, look at the ammo. Some shotguns, and not just semi-autos. He was like, I should have gotten a pump. Well, that's like, many guns don't like certain kinds of ammo or don't like to be lubed a certain way. I don't think that's a fair criticism. But anyway, try the lube first, and then try the different ammo, right? Some guns, let's take the shotgun for example, like some shotguns like a certain kind of crimp on the front of the shotgun shell, and some shotguns will not feed certain kinds of crimps on the front of the shotgun shell. Certain shotguns, just like certain brands over other brands, either they pattern better or they feed better or both. It doesn't even mean that ammo is better. It just means that it's better for that gun. That's why you have to get out and train and test your kit. So when you're looking at a problem, especially we're more specifically talking now about gun problems, so what's the easiest, most logical solution for that problem? Is it to get frustrated and sell the gun or take a Dremel to it? No, but you might get there. But what's the easiest solution first? Maybe the lube just wasn't rated for that cold of weather, right? If you're hunting in central Canada and it's minus 30, minus 50 degrees, right? Not all lubrication is going to do well in that environment. You move into the world like semi-automatic handguns. You get light strikes. Okay, well, have you shot that gun a lot? Have you cleaned out the firing pin channel? Firing pin channels can accumulate quite a bit of dirt and grit and grime, which lessens the velocity of that firing pin. You get below a certain threshold, and it will fail to reliably detonate the ammo. If you clean out that firing pin channel and don't over lube it so it's not sluggish. If any lube, really light lube in the firing pin channel, but depending on the purpose of the gun. But check that first. That's the easiest solution, right? And then, did you change something with the trigger? Because a lot of times that can affect, in semi-automatic handguns, the different kits you can do to improve the trigger pull can change the mass, inertia, velocity of that firing pin. So maybe, again, you change ammo. Some primers are harder than others, especially military primers are super hard. So as long as it detonates your carry ammo reliably and you just bought the cheapest bulk surplus garbage military surplus ammo and it has a couple of light strikes with that, but most other actual good brands that you would ever run through that for any realistic environment like Federal, Winchester, Remington, those all work fine, then do you really care that 1 out of every 20 NATO primers doesn't get detonated? Maybe, if that's like your apocalypse gun and you're stockpiling NATO ammo. But if it's your carry gun and it works well with all domestic production ammo without the really hard NATO primers, because a lot of those are meant for, without getting too technical, for open bolt submachine guns with, fixed firing pins, which doesn't apply to you. Care that it doesn't even detonate that ammo, because that might not even matter. But you get the idea for the tactical tip. Start with the easiest solution first and then progress. Maybe you get to the point where you want an extra power striker spring. Maybe you have a broken firing pin. But probably the easier, more likely common solutions are going to fix it. And if not, you progress down the chain. Anyway, that's your tactical tip of the day. Look at your simplest, most logical, and often cheapest solutions first for fixing gun problems. Your tactical verse of the day. And it shall come to pass that whoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. Guys, all this gun stuff, I'm not saying it's not important, but it is very unimportant. It's minutia compared to much more weightier important matters, right? 9mm versus 45. Are you going to hell? How about that question? Are you going to hell? Hell is a real place because Jesus says it's a real place. Don't be brainwashed into thinking, oh, it doesn't really matter what you do. Do whatever you feel, live your best life, or some other garbage New Age philosophy. There is a real hell. Are you going to hell? Have you spent any time thinking about that question? That's way more important than 9 versus 45 or 223 versus 7.62 by 39 or AR versus AK and blah, 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 blah. You going to hell? How about that question? You call on the name of the Lord to be saved? Whatever, wherever you are in life, it's always the right answer to go to God. I'll end with this verse again. And it shall come to pass that whoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered.